Welcome, Meg. Uh, For everyone who does not yet have the pleasure of knowing Meg, she is very highly educated, well versed in the visual arts, worked in that field at the highest level, and has found a new fulfilling career in the administration of her school, helping children and their parents through the schooling process, pre-K through 6. So she has had to deal with tantrum-filled artists, parents who are challenging or challenged by life, and children with different kinds of issues. So for her, she has produced this beautiful life and family, and she very kindly agreed to be my collaborator on this website. So it's a great honor to introduce Meg and also to have her be the first for this exciting new chapter of this website that will include interviews of very special people and what sources of inspiration they have and have found work for them in their lives. So before we begin with that, is there anything you'd like to share, Meg, with the audience about your life?
Well, thank you, first of all, for such a beautiful introduction. Um, and yes, so you gave a beautiful synopsis of kind of my career thus far and some major milestones in my life. I guess what I'd like folks to know about me um, is just in terms of um, my personality and kind of how I interact with the world. Um, I see myself as kind of an introvert, but sometimes people can see my behavior as being more extroverted, and I think that part of what we'll get into more as we start our discussion is how I use my various roles in the community or in my workplace or in my family to kind of help me in social situations and in work situations, or when I'm seeking inspiration or wanting to reach out to make a new friend, kind of how I lean into different tools or even the discomfort a little bit of putting myself out there to reach my goals and to accomplish things that I'd like to. So I think that would kind of help frame some of the other parts of the discussion for folks to know
Wonderful.
that.
And uh, uh, you have also, through your life, been touched not personally, but indirectly by cancer. So that connection for you and I has been especially profound, at least at my end, because I knew you would understand and want to participate in this wonderful website for providing inspiration for a healing journey and providing inspiration for life. And so, starting with inspiration for life, Meg, what are some of your favorite sources of inspiration?
So I really um, enjoy interacting with my family, with friends, with my community. But the role that I feel most comfortable doing that in is kind of in a helping role, a supporting role. So that's been kind of a pattern in my life. I've always enjoyed volunteering. I enjoy with my family. boosting my husband, my children up, celebrating their successes. Um, Not to say that I don't want to celebrate my own, but I enjoy being kind of off to the side a little more. I don't like to be in the spotlight. So that brings me great joy. And then, as I said, I am a little introverted, a little shy. So when it does come to interacting with my community, I love to volunteer. I love to, help at bake sales. I like to help at, during COVID, I helped at vaccine clinics. And I can be very outgoing and love to interact with people, but I do so better when I'm kind of wearing the hat of I'm here to help. I'm here to facilitate. In my career at the art museum, I found a lot of success in that as well. And in my current career, working in an elementary school, um, that's where I feel most comfortable. So that's where I find a lot of inspiration. Um, I love it because it brings me into contact with a broad spectrum of people, lots of different points of view, lots of different generations, lots of different belief structures, religions, races, points of origin. And that I find fascinating. Like, I love finding out something new about someone, hearing about a special holiday that they celebrate. So, again, in that role of offering some assistance, boosting someone up, lending a helping hand, um, that has really offered me a lot of opportunities to interact with other people. And through that, I've gained a lot of friendships and found a lot of inspiration. It's also helped me, as we mentioned, with the experience with cancer, or kind of in my process, like dealing with someone in my life being ill, or feeling stuck, or feeling frightened, and wanting to do something for someone I care about. That kind of role of what can I do to help, and breaking things down into smaller, actionable steps has really helped me emotionally when I feel stuck or uncomfortable, or that I need to shift from a more negative, sorrowful, depressed way of thinking to something more uplifting. And it can be little things, send a text that, makes someone smile, or make them a nice meal, or send an article that says, oh, I've been thinking about you, what do you think about this? So that's really what I like about it, is that it can be scaled up or down in terms of action, and in terms of effect. It can be something very small and personal, or it can be something, much larger. So that's where I find inspiration, is kind of putting myself out there in that role, and then it gives me lots of different avenues for my energy and for that forward momentum.
That sounds beautiful, and it's helpful for the other person too. They get the recipient of that care and the attention and the interest, which is a beautiful gift. It's like saying, "I hear you. I'm listening. I'm interested in you." So that's just lovely, Megan. I think many people will benefit from hearing you say that. Is there a particular example, say, that comes to mind where you realize this inspiration really made a difference in your life and perhaps in somebody else's life, but most important in your own?
I mean, I think I could give several examples of that. So I work at an elementary school currently, so I'm around a lot of children, like you were saying, from about age 4 to age 11. And there are lots of small problems that I encounter in a day, that a child can bring to you, that to the child seems huge, can seem insurmountable. Like, I forgot my lunch, or I forgot my homework folder, and my mom's at work and she can't bring it to me. And to be able to be a trusted adult that they bring that problem to, and to be a liaison to help them work that out is a great feeling, because in the world that we live in, you see so many problems during the day that you think, how will we ever solve this? How will the human race ever do this? But then when you help a 7-year-old um, find their homework folder or work it out that they can turn their homework in the next day, and you see the relief on their face, you realize that these smaller actions really can build up into larger successes. So that would be one example. Another example um, would be, working with adults in my career at the museum. I worked at a major art museum. I was in the exhibitions department. We would have artists come, to prepare for their exhibition. And it really didn't matter whether they were in the early stages of their success in their career, if they were mid-career, or if they were very senior veteran artists. A New York show and a New York opening would always, people would just want to pull out all the stops and have things be at their very, very best. So there were a lot of nerves around that. And, helping these adults understand the infrastructure of the museum, what the museum had to offer, how they could support the artists and the success of their work, to help creative people understand timelines and budgets, which isn't necessarily something that creatives strive at. And to be a liaison for that between all the various departments of the museum, the curators, the museum director, all the art handlers and preparatory and construction staff, and to bring the artist show to a successful opening was always huge. And it was really rewarding to work on that and to be able to facilitate it, so the curator was pleased, the artist was pleased, we're getting good reviews. So that's another example on a much grander scale. But really it comes down to the same problems, that a child might face of, we have to get the work in on time, if there's a problem, these are the avenues we can pursue to resolve it. So again, it's kind of breaking things down from a big problem to many actionable steps. And then in my personal life, both of my parents had cancer. My mother passed away about 3 years ago from endometrial cancer. My father passed away about 26 years ago from multiple myeloma. When my father was ill and passed, I was much younger. And I did feel very helpless in my father's illness and passing. During my mother's illness, at the initial stages of it, she was still trying to be my mom and protect me and my brother from what was happening out of, that incredible maternal care and love. But as the disease progressed, she did let us in. And at the end of her life at hospice, I was really blown away by just the incredible care we received, how the staff at hospice empowered my brother and I to allow our mother to feel safe and loved and cared for, so that when she was ready to end her journey, and trying to heal from a disease that had been deemed terminal, we were able to be with her and to help her feel safe to let go of her body here on earth, and to move to a different level of existence. So really in the most primal, biggest sense of what can happen in your life, again, it was people, very kind, very loving, very special people who gave my mother the dignity and the respect of someone who had been on a long healing journey, and the journey was coming to an end, and that was okay. And we were able to help her. So again, this theme of of helping. It's just come up over and over again in my life in so many different ways. And it's not to oversimplify it. You know, helping is just one facet of a very complex structure and a very complex chain of actions. But I think that for me, I've just come back to it over and over again of when I don't know where to start, that's an action point that I can always find, and I can start there, and then kind of the other steps begin to fall into place. So for me, it's helped me to give a starting point when I don't know where else to go.
That's beautiful, Meg. That's so helpful. And I find I'm re-inspired just listening to you and how very important it is to receive the kindness of others and be open to it, to ask for it, to not just push things aside because it's hard to do, it's hard to ask. So that's beautiful. And thank you so much for initiating this brand new section in the website, which you've made beautiful. It's thanks to Meg that the website exists, and it's thanks to Meg that it's flourished. She does everything, curating, posting, etc., everything. So it's with immense gratitude. Thank you so much, Meg,
You're
for
very
making this
welcome.
possible. Is there any final word you'd like to share with everyone?
I mean, I think the only other thing I'd like to say is I think one of many very close ties you and I have is that we both very much like to help. And I think that there have been points in our lives and our friendship together where I've needed your help, your connection, and you have, through your love and your grace that you've given me with your help, I learned to receive. And I've watched you on many levels from many, many people who love you. When you've needed help, I've watched you receive with such grace and beauty. So I think that's the final lesson I'd like to end with is if helping is where you can find your starting point and your inspiration, helping will also teach you to receive when you need the help. So I think it's a beautiful balance of giving and receiving. And, you know, I think that that's something that you've helped me learn in my life. And that's something that I've watched you do with such beauty and grace. So that is my final thoughts.
Thank you so much, Meg. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm very touched and honored. And, and we will meet again on
I,
this format. I'm sure we'll have another interview later on.
that sounds good.
Wonderful.